Now all the cutting action happens right here at the cutter head. This is the cutter head, this round cylinder that holds the knives. There are a lot of different kinds of knives, and so I'd like to show you a little bit about what the differences might be. The traditional knife, for years and years, was a straight knife, 3 in a head. And what that acted like was a great big airplane propeller going round and round. They were loud, they were very inefficient in the way they removed material, and it took a lot of skill to run across a joiner and not get tear out. You can get them really sharp. High-speed steel is a real sharp material, but they wear rather quickly. The next big invention that came along was a self-setting knife. It has a registration groove here that allowed you to put it into the head, get the same protrusion of steel time after time. As they wore out, you could flip them around, use the other side, and when they were done, they were done. The beauty of it was all the time and energy that went into setting the traditional knife disappeared, and so what used to take a couple hours now took 15 minutes. The next big thing that came along was the segmented cutter head. There's 2 different types here, but they're both made out of carbide. And as a carbide knife goes, they last way longer, way longer. There again, they're all registering to be exactly the same height or protrusion from the head, allowing greater stability and making it a much more efficient way to operate. The big difference here is that one cutter is straight across, one cutter has a slight crown to it on all 4 sides. The beauty of this is the crown knife allows you to put this cutter in, and if it turns ever so slightly on you, the tip doesn't protrude. This knife requires perfect alignment on your part, or one little corner will stick up, cutting a groove in your material. Now, over time, it will wear out and not be an obstruction. But when you first set a new edge on all of these square cutters, don't be surprised if you see a little track going through your wood. So the next thing I wanted to show you was how to change these knives nowadays. The first thing you'd want to do is remove the guard. But before I get into that, I want to show you the huge difference it is between the old traditional knife and the segmented cutters that we have nowadays. This knife used to come across the wood in a straight line like this, and it would scallop it out over and over again, 3 knives coming by, over and over. The new segmented knives are all set up in a staggered pattern, okay? Not only do they come across in a skew angle, like you would like to use with your hand plane, but the next set of knives are slightly staggered off of those. So each time this knife comes by, it's only removing a portion of what the previous knife did. This allows the wood to be removed very, very softly and easily, causing really no tear out to begin with. To change the knives, the first thing you would want to do under any knife scenario is stabilize the head. A little wedge against the in-feed table, not the out-feed, tapped in, stabilizes that so it can't move back and forth on you as you try to work on it. These knives come with a Torx head screw, and they're tight. But before I remove them, there's something you should see. Even though they're all laser etched, they're very difficult to see. So in the past, what I've done is I've taken a black Sharpie and marked the old dull knife. Now before I change these, I will do the same thing. I'll mark the edge that was used. Pull the screw out. Lift out the segmented knife. You'll notice there's a little debris that's collected in there. Get a nice stiff bristled brush. Clean that debris out of there. To make your life easier down the road, put a little drop of oil, just one little drop. Clean your knife off. Reposition it with the new cutting edge facing you on the in-feed table. Set your screw in. Make sure you're threading it by hand. Don't force it. The last thing you'd want to do is cross thread this. It should spin in easily with that drop of oil. Now, here's where you want to be careful. Bring the screw down, snug it. Notice that the knife isn't moving. It's perfectly well seated. Give it a little extra twist. That knife is done. That's how quick and easy it'll be to change the knives, and every one of them will be the exact same height off the head. Now here's a scenario that a lot of salesmen will try to tell you. If you get a nick in your knives, you only have to change one knife. Well, that's a fallacy. If I change only one knife, remember these are all staggered over, I probably nick 2 or 3 in different positions. And if I only change that knife, what's going to happen is this knife will have a new edge, full length, full size. If I only change that knife, I've got one knife now sticking out proud of the others that have wear on them. So if I'm going to change knives, I'm going to change knives. They're all going to be the same or they're not.